Okay. Nobody. We'll try to get started now. Nobody has come in the door the last couple of minutes, so if they do, they can catch up with where we are. Tonight, we have it's a special meeting we have tonight, and I want to personally thank our elected officials and our appointed officials for being here tonight. We have our mayor and alderman here, and we have our planning commission here, as well as our town administrator and our town planner. I might ask if y'all know everybody's just kind of mixed together, but if you're a member of the board, mayor, or an alderman, if you could just stand up. Or raise your hand or whatever. It's all right standing, so shake your hand, yeah. Great. Thank you. And if you're on the planning commission, if you just raise your hand or stand or shout out loud or whatever. So, and then Joe, you and Wendy are over here. Joe's the town administrator and Wendy is the town planner. So we wanted to bring everybody together tonight to just talk this out and make sure that we're all on the same page. The important thing that I want to do also, most important, is thank you the residents of Tollgate for being here. We've had we put out a number of messages to make Tollgate residents aware of this, and we wanted to get as many people here as we could tonight, not knowing it's going to be snowing and horrible weather and that type of thing. So again, thank you for being here, and also Dave McGowan and his group from Regent Homes are here, and we thank them for coming and presenting again to us and giving us an update of where they are with the development in the front of Tollgate. You know, Thompson Station's a small town, and we're privileged to live in a town where we can have a meeting like this, where we can all come together as residents. We can come together with our elected and appointed officials, our town staff. We can talk openly. We can exchange ideas, and we can reach conclusions that are for the betterment of the town. And that's what we're going to try to work on tonight. What I thought I might do is just kind of recap just the past of what we've done in the past and kind of bring us up to tonight. Back in November, Regent Homes came in to the TAC meeting and talked to us, Dave McGowan and some of his people, and they presented their thoughts of a plan for the front of Tollgate Village. We listened, we studied it, we made a lot of comments, and literally in 2 weeks they came back to us, and most of the comments we made they had addressed. So they listened, and when we saw those comments, we felt like then we would bring it to the residents of Tollgate to express their opinion. So you might recall back on December 6th, we had a meeting here that we brought Dave McGowan in. We invited Tollgate residents. We had about 75 residents show up. Dave went through the plan that he had for the front of Tollgate, and we asked at the end of the meeting for you to vote. And actually, we had 75 people voted yes. We had zero no votes. So that was a pretty good endorsement, we felt like, to move forward. And when I say we, I'm talking about TAC. As we've said from the beginning, TAC's role is to represent the residents of Tollgate. And so with that said, we felt like we started trying to promote this. Then in January, the question was posed if Tollgate residents really knew what they voted for. So we thought, well, we will try to check again. So we did an email campaign where we asked you to email yes or no if you were in favor of the development in the front of Tollgate. And out of that, and we had every email, when you responded, it went to every board of mayor and alderman and every planning commission member and Joe, a town administrator. We weren't trying to overload their mailbox, but the intent was for them to see that there was support for this type of project. We had 253 votes cast, 241 or 95.2% were yes. So once again, we felt like that Tollgate residents were behind this and supported this, and TAC has been moving forward with trying to make this happen. Unfortunately, there's been some miscommunications that cause people to second guess. So this brings us to tonight. Tonight, our intent is that when we leave, everyone, our town officials, the residents of Tollgate, regents, and everyone else are on the same page, and we will have a vote, And we hope that whatever the response to that vote is, I'm going to guarantee you TAC will go forward with, but we also hope our elected officials will go forward with. So what we've got scheduled tonight, and you've got the agenda in front of you, which I don't have in front of me, but we've asked Dave McGowan first if he would take a few minutes, and he's going to talk first about the commercial development. The commercial development in the front of Tollgate, you've seen the sign down there. That's separate from the rest of the development. That's approved, and he's moving forward with trying to make that happen. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. Then he's going to go into talking about the plans for the rest of the front of Tollgate. Once he gets through talking about that, Alderman Graham Shepherd asked if he could take a few minutes and make some comments. So we asked him if he would, he would be glad to. So he'll make some comments, and then we're going to open the meeting up to you. And what we're going to do is we want anyone with a question or a comment. We will have a microphone and we'll bring it to you because this meeting is being recorded. And as soon as it's available, we'll post it on the TAC website. But we will want everyone to get any questions or concerns that you have addressed tonight. So we have, to make sure we're on schedule, we have our timekeeper, which is, Lewis is going to be the timekeeper back here. He's got a atomic watch that's going to watch the time exactly. When the speaker has 2 minutes left, he's going to give a 2-minute notice with what, Lewis? What do you have for 2 minutes? Oh, okay. Is that 2 fingers? Okay. And when you get down to 1 minute, he'll say 1 minute. When you're out of time, then we ask that you please wrap it up so that we can move on to something else. We want to try to keep on schedule as much as we can. So again, tonight is your meeting. We hope you get your questions, your concerns addressed, and I really appreciate you being here tonight. I'll turn it over to Dave now, let him get started.
Thank you, Larry. We're going to try to run through this pretty quick because we are on a clock tonight. First, I would like to thank you all for being here tonight with us. And what we're going to try to do is give you a pretty good quick update as far as what's going on with the community. I'd like to introduce Keith and David Rosenblum. Keith is actually going to be a minority partner in what we call Tollgate Regent Development and Commercial. It's a separate part from the residential. He will be the leasing agent who is in charge of leasing and managing the center. He has a long resume. He can give you a short version of the resume of what all he's done here in town, but he's in charge of leasing. And with that, I'm going to ask him to take and give us a quick update where we stand with potential people that want to lease there. We have asked those people to be here tonight. Some of them made it. I don't know. It's been a real bad wreck on the interstate tonight. We did get a couple of calls that they could not make it here on time, but they're trying to make it here. But we are going to introduce some of those folks. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Keith.
Thanks, David. You know, the one thing that I know goes without saying, but it's something I always remember, is that rooftops really help in anything that's going on commercially. Everyone that we talk to that ask, what's going on around the neighborhood, how many people are here, how many more people could be here, that's a big plus to the commercial aspect of us getting tenants in the buildings. Now, many of you know this will be a lot of small tenants. Dave has brought us what has already been approved. We put it out there. There are 6, 7 different tenants right now, all very actively talking to us. At least half of those, I think, are ready to go into lease negotiations for executed documents right now. We've got coffee shops. We've got fitness centers. We've got pizza guys. We've got different fellows that are all small, 16, 18, 2,000-foot users like that. But I want you guys to know that, we want to listen, do our best to try to bring the right tenants there, make it a win-win for the neighborhood and for the development itself. I do know that some of our feel is that we need to get the right restaurant people present so that we've got a good, a good place to eat, a good place to mix that's there at the doorstep to the subdivision. One thing I think, too, David is my nephew that is working with us on this. We've done a number of, as Dave said, we don't know it all. We're learning more every day. But we do know that little centers like this that are captive right there to the front, kind of where the gate is coming in and out, I don't think there's any reason why that we can't fill up a center with good people and good tenants, that can be a great plus to the neighborhood. David, you want to say anything? I'm burning up my 2 minutes.
David Guthrie and Zach and Isaiah and I don't know if Mary made it here.
Yes. Yes. David, you might raise your hand if you want to. I don't know if we got time for him to come up and say anything, but you're welcome, I guess. Can we give him 30 seconds? Can we get away with that, Larry?
You might just tell us what you want to do out there in the center.
My family and I, we're going to be opening up, our intention anyway is to open up a Jericho coffee company. So we'll have a coffee shop there, and it will be a great place to mingle, have meetings, and of course, great coffee and some great
Yep. Yes, let's see where, Zach and Isaiah are back over here in the corner. We've had good meetings with those guys. There you go. We've got microphones. You guys can comment if you'd like and tell these folks what you're wanting to do there.
Yeah. Well, we're actually part of the coffee shop as well. We're the two siblings, the younger guys. But we actually run a lifestyle fitness brand called Southern Sculpt Fitness. And we hope to open a personal training and group fitness studio where we can get the community engaged and onto a healthy lifestyle.
We also have a young lady trying to come here by the name of Mary Cho. She has a nail salon facility in Lenox Village that we built for her there, and she does. She has customers who live in Tollgate that told us what we're doing here, and of course she wants to be there too. And she's met with Keith and David. And if you want to add anybody else that you've met with,
I'd say that in addition to that, we've got, as I stated, we've got the pizza shop, we've got a hair salon, we've got a cleaners, to drop off cleaners. So there's a lot going on there. We're going to start dropping those into place, and Dave's really excited because if we can get the residential pump up to go with it, we've got a win-win for everyone. So we're going to be listening. We value your input. Tell us what you think on usages that need to be there. We'll go see if we can get them.
And also, if you know anybody that would like to be out there, please refer them to them. The number's on the front on the sign out there. And they got cards out here too, and we do appreciate it. We would love to get a nice restaurant. One of the things that we face with the restaurant is the impact fees down here. There are impact fees on the commercial here. We have spoken to a couple of the aldermen about it. It is something that we think we need to address. The first restaurant we were talking to, the impact fee was $117,000 on that particular restaurant. Somewhere that's got to be picked up and absorbed somewhere in the cost. So you can imagine that's a pretty significant number. But we'd love to be able to get about a 3,000 square foot restaurant. We have numerous talks with different people. You got to remember they're coming down here. There's big investments for somebody's money. They want to feel like that that it's going to work, and so we're doing everything we can to hopefully get someone landed like that. With that, we'd like to move on to the residential right now. And Wendy, I don't know if this thing is still on or not. All right. We met several different times, and basically what we are doing, we're entering a contract. Is that Mary coming in? I don't know if that's Mary coming in or not. Anyway, and so what we did, we entered a contract to is to purchase the property that's outlined in this red area right here. If you look at the acreage that we're talking about buying, it's right at 27 acres. That includes the commercial site. Basically, what we're trying to do really with the city is to get an LDO, a land development ordinance, adopted that would allow townhouses, live works, mixed-use buildings, and commercial buildings throughout the site, and we move forward. We're not asking the city right now to actually approve a plan. This is a concept plan. The concept basically determines how many units we really think we can get on the property. Properties usually have problems, like it might have a little bit of a floodplain up here. There might be a little bit of a slope issue here. So one of the things we want to be able to do is something what we did at Berry Farms. We have a mix of townhouses and condominiums, a mixed-use building, and some commercial buildings. And so when we go before the city at the next planning commission, what we wanted to do is adopt a land development ordinance. All that does, it gives us a legal authority to come in and build and plan a community. So that would allow us to be able to, instead of calling them apartments, we really want to call them condominiums because that's what we plan to build. We don't plan to build apartments. Build condominiums just like we did at West Haven, just like we did over at Berry Farms, that we sell to individuals. Who are we selling these to? A lot of them will be parents of some of the folks that live in this neighborhood that might want to come down here and live next to their family members. Those condominiums, that's who's buying them over there at Berry Farms right now. At the same time, we want to be able to build townhouses. A lot of these townhouses will be 3-story townhouses. We will be selling them probably to the millennials, young people who are moving into the Williamson County market for jobs. So this plan is just a sketch. What we want to be able to do is to cap this property. We're saying a cap, the cap of all anything to do with commercial, anything to do with the 27 acres, we would cap it at 232 units. Although the LDO document says you can do 12 units the acre, if we get approved what we can and we want to buy this from the current developer, we will agree to a cap, 232 units. That would include any residential in the commercial portion up here as well as in here, but we would be able to go between a condominium building and a townhouse building. We've added a new slide since the last time we met with you. This is a condominium building we're building in other neighborhoods. That's a fourplex. It could have a skin on the outside to look like a commercial building, or it can have a skin to look like a residential building. And so this is a fourplex condominium that we'll be building in the Nolensville area. These are condominiums we built in Berry Farms. And so that's more of what we call an urban look, and this is more of a suburban look. And so this is a building that we actually proposed and have approved that has an urban look. So we can actually put this skin on a building like this and make it look that way. But we don't want to call them apartments. We don't want them underneath the apartment guidelines, because we don't want somebody saying they're proposing to build apartments now. We're not building apartments. We will build condos. The other thing, we will adhere to the Fannie Mae, FHA, and VA guidelines. Those guidelines, for me to get those financing approved, limits me to no more than 25% rental in any per building. And so any building that we would build, no one could take, and we couldn't sell to anybody, to an investor, to have it for a rental unit, more than 25%. You don't realize it, but the condo buildings that you have now in Tollgate, if somebody goes in there to sell one of those buildings or to buy one of those particular units, FHA has to have, or VA and Fannie Mae has to have that building approved for that type of financing. They might go back and check. If it's gone over that ratio, it might not qualify for that type of financing. It doesn't mean it wouldn't qualify for conventional commercial financing, which it could do. So with that, to give you an idea where we're trying to go with this, just like we did with the commercial building, we would have to come in with each building and each phase and go before the Planning Commission to have those buildings approved. We would have to meet parking guidelines, we had to meet setback guidelines, and all the other guidelines that are in there. So it's not, this next meeting of the Planning Commission, what we really want to get is that LDO approved so that we can go to work and start planning this particular community. One of the persons that we wanted to be here tonight was Amber Stromberg. She is a former resident of Tollgate. She lives and live work in Berry Farms. She would be here to tell you that she has current people who are interested in buying these live works. It's everything from a lawyer to an esthetician and 2 or 3 other people that she knows that would like to be in this particular area. The live works basically allow you to have a commercial on the first floor and residential on the above that you can live in. And again, it would help create the Main Street feel as you come in the neighborhood. What we want to be able to do is set the stage here to live to what we consider the original intent of the neighborhood. The intent changed drastically when the medical office went in and Shelter's insurance office in. If you go look at the original master plan, it changed then. But we want to try to take into a component that was originally designed down here and move it over here, which would be 3-story townhouses. One of the things that has been a sticking point with the Planning Commission is the setbacks. We want a rear 5-foot setback. Why do we want a rear 5-foot setback? If you notice here, in this area where we got the live works, if you study this plan real close, we have parking in the back of it. If we put a 20-foot rear setback on it, that parking then becomes the by the owner of that particular unit. If we put the parking in a central parking in the center like we do here, that parking becomes open. Why is that important? If you got to live, work, and you're going to have commercial people coming to see you or people working for you, you want to be able to have parking for them. So that parking is shared parking. You don't have to worry about anybody saying, that's my parking spot, you can't park there. So all through here, you can see how we've dispersed parking, but at the same time, we put a 5-foot rear setback on the back of the property. I believe underneath the current LDO guidelines that will be adopted, we're held to a maximum of about, what is the front setback? Is it 12-foot setback? So another thing that comes into play is the coverage area of a lot. So again, we're setting up what we call an urban look to this particular property. It's not a suburban look, it's an urban look. And that's what was planned. That's why it's called a town center. Again, if you go to West Haven, you go to Berry Farms, you go to Lenox Village, we're doing one in Huntsville called Providence, we're going to do another one called Town Madison in Huntsville. You will see this same type pattern to where you go into the town center and you build more of a urban looking product. So that product would be more something along like this that you would see. It would not be something that looks like a normal suburban look as far as the community is concerned. So with that, we're trying to move the meeting along and keep it on pace. I don't know how much more time we got on our section, but try to give you a good feel of what we're going to do. So we're not saying this is 100% where we're going. What we're saying is this is a concept plan that we like to move toward. At the same time, we might come in here and put condos in some of these buildings on the corners like we did at Berry Farms. Why? It allows us to leave more areas open because you go more vertical with the units instead of horizontal with the units. And so we might end up with some slope issues over here. We might end up with some fill or some kind of setback or floodplain area over here. And instead of taking and trying to put those units there, we would move them back over here and put them in a condo building. But at the same time, the Main Street component that we want to do, we're pretty well locked in mentally with that. If we had this LDO approved today, we would be moving ahead with the design of this section right here. That's the next section that we would want to go into and come up the road. So we wanted to have it look like a Main Street look in there. All right, Larry, where are we stand on time? 20 minutes right on it? 14? Yeah, remaining. I'd like to leave questions to the end, and I wanted to try to cover everything, but at the same time, I don't know if you want to open questions now or not.
Let's hold them to the end, if you don't mind, Dave.
You got
Leanne, the experienced nail salon spa operator that I was mentioning earlier. There she is right there. They've just come in. Can you step up here, Leanne, real quick, since we got a couple? Larry's got the microphone.
Yeah. So we are currently owner of the a nail salon in Lenox Village where they used to own, and we wanted to expand our business to Tollgate. So hopefully, well, we can have your support.
Leanne, you might tell them that when you went there, was there a Burger Republic there when you opened your shop? Was there a sports bar there when you opened? You were probably one of the first shops that went in and got open before we even got those shops open, and then those other shops came in after you. And
this was very successful.
Yeah,
we were like the first one to open the business there before like Burger Republic. And the business is still very successful, very established right now, and we want to, expand our business. Hopefully, not just 2 shops. Now we have 1, and we try to open another one, hopefully, and we open like more than 1, 2, maybe 4. We never know.
Thank you for coming and fighting the traffic tonight. I know you had a rough ride getting down here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I think, Larry, you wanted to hold the questions to the end. I don't know if you want to move on to.
Yeah, if you're through, if you don't mind putting the microphone back, then Alderman Shepherd, you're on then.
Okay, I'm going to take some of the time available. I think this is going to take 20 minutes. I think I'm going to need 20 minutes. I have 30 slides.
Alderman Shepherd,
Yep.
I'm sorry. We told you you had 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes. Cut to the ones that are important.
All right. So this is the agenda. Go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, the first thing we need to decide, in my mind, just generally speaking, is the front of Tollgate a good location for commercial enterprises? I think it is. In fact, I think it's the best location in all of Thompson Station for commercial. And if we can't put commercial in the front of Tollgate, there's nowhere in Thompson Station we can put commercial. Next slide. You heard the buzzword rooftops. That's all right. So let's go. Rooftops. Do we really need townhomes and condos in the front of Tollgate to support commercial in the front of Tollgate? And the answer is definitely not. Next slide. If you look at Berry Farms, if you look at the data at West Haven, mostly commercial is supported by within a 3 to 5 mile radius. People will come there and they will drive there. Regent Homes has a development right now in Spring Hill. It's called Petra Commons. It's got about 100 homes, 50 of them are townhomes, 50 of them are single-family homes, I think. I'm close on that. And they have retail in the front. If you think that retail in the front is being supported by those 100 homes in the back, think again. We don't need more rooftops in the front of Tollgate to support commercial. Next slide. Do we think our government should allow any developer to engage in bait and switch activities? And make no mistake, that's exactly what's going on here. The promise was from the beginning, for over a decade, commercial in the front, residential in the back. Now they want to change it. We already gave 10 acres or so for the apartment complex. Now they want another 27. Pretty soon, there won't be any land left for commercial. My answer to this is that local government should not allow this. Developers should do what they said they were going to do. That's all. Next slide. You will hear a lot about, and you will see, and you have seen a lot of pictures about, we built nice townhomes in Berry Farms, we built nice townhomes in West Haven. Those are the trees they want you to look at. I want you to look at the forest. Berry Farms is 56% residential and 44% commercial. That's the mix of the town center of Berry Farms. If we approve tonight what the developer's asking for, our mix will be no better than 5% commercial. And of that 5% commercial, less than 2% will be retail. More than 3% will be office. That is not a good mix. So look at the forest, not the trees. Next slide. This is the slide Regent Homes presented on December 6th. And they wanted to give you the impression that it was a good mix of commercial and residential. This is Regent Homes' slide. This is a misleading slide. All the residential in the back, they don't even count. My slide is accurate. 95, 5. It's not a good mix. It's not balanced. Next slide. This is a survey Alderman Dilks took. Almost 100 Tollgate residents responded to it. 91% of the respondents said they wanted retail of at least 10%. 10% retail would be very good. I'd be happy if we could get that. Next slide. What really needs to be decided tonight? Specifically, what are we here to decide? Got 4 multiple choice questions. Anyone want to take a guess at what the correct answer is? Or what they think I think the correct answer is? Next slide. It's none of the above. This is not about the commercial piece. I'm for the commercial piece. Everyone I know is for the commercial piece. I can't wait to see the commercial getting built and up and running, and everybody who's here, the coffee shop, the nail salon, everybody that's going to go in there, can't wait to see it. Hope you make massive profit. It's not about commercial, so that's for sure. Do you support the commercial plan? Of course we do. It's already approved. It's 100% approved. It doesn't matter even if you opposed it now at this point, because it's a done deal. It is happening. Do you support the residential plan that the town has not yet approved? That can't be right either. Let me show you why. Next slide. We only need to decide tonight and in the short term if we are immediately, right now, going to change our land development ordinance and allow immediate construction of townhomes and condos. That's the real decision we have to make. And I'm against that. And I'll tell you why. Next slide. This is a picture that I got a kick out of. It's kind of humorous. This is how our federal government operates, in my opinion. When the Democrats were in power with Barack Obama, they had the majority, they had the House, Senate, and they just jammed everything they wanted right down the Republicans' throats. Now that the Republicans have the majority, it's exactly the same way. And I don't like that. And I really hate that our local government is acting just like that right now. Just like that. And I don't think we should. Where we can get consensus, we have 5-0 votes, that would be much better, much preferred. We're better than the federal government. I know that. I know we can be, we should be, and I want to be. Next slide. How do I make my decisions when I vote? How do I do that? First thing I do, when I ran for office, I told you I would focus on what counts, and I told you that what I thought counted was your quality of life and your property values. That's what I said. I look at things and I say, okay, the property value is going to be better or worse? Is your quality of life going to be better or worse? And if they're both better, I vote yes every time. If they're both worse, I vote no every time. 2 farms was down in that, in my mind, was down in it's going to make quality of life worse for the rural residents living there. It's going to make their property values better. When it falls into one of those yellow boxes, that's a tough decision for me. Tonight, this is a no-brainer. The commercial is going to make our property values better, quality of life better, but the townhomes and condos are not. They're both going to make things worse. I'm against that. Next slide. Here's some quick stats. This is where we are. We're below the county average median home sale price. Next slide. Home appreciation. Our homes in the last 5 years have been going up. Their values have increased at a much worse rate than everybody except Fairview. That's not good. Next slide. When you compare Tollgate to the other mixed-use communities, West Haven and Berry Farms, we are the worst. We are the worst. Next slide. Why is that? We don't have any restaurants, retail stores. We have litigation going against us. We have lousy infrastructure, substandard. We've got the crystal clear monopoly. We got lights, pollution coming from the store. Next slide. What is the harmful effect to everyone who owns a home in Tollgate Village? It's about $134,000. If we had retail, if we didn't have the crystal clear monopoly, if we had a full left and right turn secondary access that we were promised, we would all have about $100,000 more in property value. Our homes would be much more valuable. Next slide. Walk score. Any way you look at it, our property values are going to be harmed. Canterbury has a 0 walk score. We have 6. That's about $3,250 a point because we can't walk to restaurants, coffee shops, or whatever. When we get this first commercial, our walk score will go up, everything will be fine. Next slide. How do I make decisions other than that quadrant? I look at growth without regret. This is the platform Mayor Napier ran on. This is the platform I endorsed, and I still believe in this. And when I look at that left and right, and I go down that checklist, there is no way, if you believe in growth without regret, that you could possibly want to change our land development ordinance and put townhomes and condos in the front. It's just not possible. Next slide. The answer to all your questions is money. So what's in it for the developer? Okay, I heard tonight that they only want to do 232 homes. So instead of 12 units an acre, 232 homes in 25 acres, that's 9 homes an acre. 9 homes an acre, which is ridiculously high. Even in the back of Tollgate, you can only do 3 homes an acre. It's crazily dense. The density is unbelievable. I'm not done yet.
Alderman Shepherd, you're done. Please sit down. Thank you, okay? You had 10 minutes. You're finished. Thank you.
Okay.
Now we'll open it up to questions. So if anybody has a question, please please raise your hand. Lewis has a mic, and I have one, and we will pass it off to you to ask questions. If you don't mind, when you ask a question, state your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Fred DeSantis. I live on Americus Drive. What is the proposed ratio of townhomes, condos, and mixed use for their plan?
Dave, that's a question for you, I think. Let me give you a microphone.
The bottom line is, what do you base your formula on? And Graham was up here talking about the whole community. We're talking about the town center. We put these maps up here so you will see the percentages that we have. The residential right here inside the town center portion would be 40%, has nothing to do with the residential in the back. The commercial that's left out front, including the site that we want to develop, is 59.2%. The live works then fall back into this category here of commercial as well. And so the bottom line is, you can see this map, how we got it colored in. As far as condos, we again told the Planning Commission last time we would limit condos to no more than 25% of the 232 units that we would put in there. And by the way, that 232 includes the mixed-use building that's already improved that has 4 units inside that building. So those 4 units would count toward that. So we're willing to put that cap on there. And there's no two ways about it. There is a formula of trying to make financial deals work. It is about making money. That's what we do for a living. And so we consider ourselves experts, by the way, in this business. We're invited to come to these neighborhoods. We're invited to come into West Haven. Again, if you go to West Haven, drive around, count the townhomes in the town center. Look at all the townhomes there, and look at all the condos out there. We built 60 condominium units, and then we built 15 live works. Right, in that particular community right there. And again, so the whole idea is to try to make this work. And again, if we pull up the slide of the very original design that the Carbines put together for Tollgate, this section right here had a large number of 3-story townhouses. And so again, we got a proposal here, and we're willing to put some limits on what we're going to do on condos. But again, you go into Berry Farms and look at the Alicia building, the Olivia buildings. Those are named after the ladies who grew up on that farm, the daughters of the Berry Farms. And so we would want to do something very similar to that. At the same time, we might include some small condos in here. What do we do in condos? Basically, who buys the 1-bedroom condos? He's talking about price per square foot. If you go look at what we sold the condos down there in Berry Farms, the last one we sold in there was $300. How much is it? $300 per square foot for the condominiums. And because the smaller it is, the more expensive it is to buy. I hope that answered your question.
Next question. Lewis is bringing a mic over there to you.
My name is Dixie Restivo, and I live on America's Drive. I am questioning this note about the Tollgate developer has already used all the sewer tap allocations. What are they going to do?
Joe, I don't know, Joe, if you can answer that, putting you on the spot or not, but.
No, again, the original wastewater tap allocation for Tollgate was, I believe, 943. Again, all of those have been used already by the existing residential development that's already been approved for Tollgate. So again, another wastewater allocation or request would have to come before our Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and another allocation would have to be given. Again, just taps is what we're talking about. So again, the existing facility can accommodate that. It would still have to come before our board for approval.
I'm Richard Penny, live on America's Drive. Had a question about the commercial part. You were talking about percentages of commercial and residential, but instead of talking about percentages, can you tell me what you're thinking of in the commercial as far as number of units? In other words, we've had a coffee shop identified, a nail shop identified. That's 2. What would you envision when this is built out? Instead of 2, would you be talking about 5, 10, 15? How many instead of percentages of commercial?
Keith could probably answer that better than myself, but we bake these bays into about 1,400 square foot bays. And so the average bay is about anywhere from 16 foot wide to 24 foot wide. And so like the nail salon, they will end up taking around 1,800 square feet. The fitness studio would take about 1,400 square feet. Coffee shop might go up to 1,800 square feet. And so the building is designed to be clear span on the inside. We got metal posts, but we can move the dividing walls around. And so I would say that'd be about 20. But so you know that the landowners that own this land out front, which one of them is Harold Cry, he's actually contacted me about this parcel of land right here. He would like to sell that land. He does not intend to develop it himself, and he would like to be able to put some kind of a restaurant or some kind of facility out there. So all this land that's out here, although one piece is owned by CVS Pharmacy, I don't know if they're going to do what they're going to do. We have no control over that. But there are other people who would like to sell in here. I will also tell you that because of what we've done marketing-wise, we have been contacted from somebody who would like to put a hotel out here, similar to what they did over at Barry. That would be something they would have to. We have not have anything to do with the contract, with anything to do with a hotel site out here. But I do think that if they ever get things worked out with the sewer and everything else, there probably will be some type of a hotel facility out there. I think they're not going to give that up.
Next question.
I'm Karen Resch, 3150 Hazelton Drive. And there's been a lot of conversations about what type of businesses are going to go in the front. And I'm pleased to hear what is being proposed, because we've had dog kennels and pawn shops. And from what you're seeing, the people that are interested, are you seeing that type of business that's going to be attracted to the front of our development?
Well, I don't realize it, but basically, in a little enterprise like this building out here, you're looking at probably anywhere from $4 to $5 million worth of investment. And the last thing a landowner, whoever wants to do, is diminish the value of his investments. And so, as far as pawn shops and stuff like that, we don't ever do that anywhere we've been anywhere. Mary Ann can tell you that we own that building there that she's in. It had 270 units of apartments in it and 40,000 square feet of office and retail in it. We sold that building for around $58 million to a REIT. And so basically what normally happens in this type deal, you usually get it rented up then you turn around and you sell that building to a major investment insurance type companies that would come in and buy it. So in this type of community, we don't see anything like that. There might be somebody like an Edward Jones who would like to open an office here for financial. That is one deal that we had in the LDO that we want to keep in there. Dog grooming, dogs are very, very popular in all over America nowadays. One of the dog food companies just sold for $5 billion. I can't remember which one it was, but and so having some place to have a vet or dog grooming. If you go to Berry Farms right next to the public, you will see the same identical facilities. Those are very, very popular. So having a kennel, we don't necessarily see a kennel, but having something there for some kind of vet services, we think would be appropriate in the community. Where exactly, I don't know, would go in there. But what happens is all these people come in, and you can imagine that everybody wants a certain spot. We would like to keep this corner here for a restaurant and a bar. So the fitness center is looking at this corner here. The coffee shop's looking at this corner here because they want outdoor seating. And the nail salon, they're looking at over here as well. And so we're trying to get everybody to fit in and mix together. And so that's what we typically do. And I believe underneath the LDO, we have agreed that a certain type of facilities could not go in there.
Let me elaborate on that. My name is Brett Smith. I'm a planner with Regent Smith Associates. We originally asked on the LDO amendments, we had asked for non-banking financial services to be added because that'd be your Edward Jones, things like that. Since then, we've gotten interpretation from staff that an Edward Jones could be included. So the non-banking financial services that we originally requested to be added to the LDO, we've since withdrawn. So that's no longer an issue.
I had one more question. You mentioned something about smaller condos in your unit, which I think is wonderful for adult homeowners and I think you'll get a number of people who are very interested. Will you have those types of cottage kind of homes available in this mix?
You can imagine we went through the same scenario with Berry Farms when we told them what we wanted to build. We told them we wanted to build a one-bedroom. We wanted to build a one-bedroom with a flex and a two-bedroom max condos. And we gave them the size. And they said, well, who's going to buy these? And we said, basically what's happening, and the baby boomers are living longer. They don't necessarily want to go to assisted living where they're paying $4,500 a month to live. They want to be active in a community where they can walk down to coffee shops and things of that nature. So that's who's buying these. Mm-hmm. And these are selling in the neighborhood of a $200,000 to $300,000 price point. And so you can imagine you can go in there and take your equity out of your house, come buy another place that your equity is going to improve in, and have a nice place to live with elevator buildings, secure access. Again, we're welcome to anybody who ever want to go on a tour on that. We'll let you contact Jeffrey Caruth, who's our sales agent. He will take you through those buildings, let you see what they look like. And then at the same time, we built some higher-end condos that just recently closed. They closed in the $350,000 price range. We're getting ready to build another condo building out there right near the commercial area, and they'll be even higher end than that. And they'll probably be right under the $400,000 mark. And those some have garages and some have surface park.
I work in the reverse mortgage industry.
Pardon?
I work in the HECM reverse mortgage industry, and baby boomers, 10,000 are turning 62 a day.
Exactly.
So you've got a huge market.
Right.
Hi, I'm Laura Burkhalter, and I live at 3005 Millerton Way. And I guess my question for David would be, during all this development, is this a phased type development, or are we going to have everything, all construction going on at one time, in and out of the main road, trucks, that kind of thing? Or is it going to be phased in?
That map that shows the original layout, the picture, if you have it on there. I was asking if we had a photograph of the artist rendering of the community. I did hear your question. Basically, when you do these jobs, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars, and you have to be very aware of the market conditions. Building condos is very risky. We're probably one of the only builders in town that can get the financing to do these condominiums. And so basically, you go with the market conditions. And so we don't come in and try to do 260 units or 230 units or whatever units is overnight. You basically could break it up into sections that you can develop, that you can bank. And so typically on a townhouse, you would probably bring on 30 to 50 units of lots at first, and then you would start building those townhouses. And then after you get those moved along, then you would build more. And same thing with condos. And so if you went out to Berry Farms over the last 5 years and took some kind of a time-lapse photo, you will see that we've consistently continued building out there. And so we're on one of the last phases of building over on the section we're in now. We're fixing to go across the street behind the Shell station and start developing that property there. So it will not be something done overnight. It will be something that will take time. One other thing, so you know, on this site plan, we've also committed to the developer that we will buy and do a alley-loaded lots up here, up on the top, that faces the Americas. So they would gain access and they would not have drives coming in. So we've agreed to purchase those lots and live with a 20-foot setback in the rear. So they had on those right there. So, and those would be single-family homes, detached.
Right. Be sure you've got a microphone before you ask a question so we make sure we record it. We've got somebody back here that's been waiting, and then whoever said that, I'll bring a microphone to you. You raise your hand. Oh, Dave's got one.
Will there still only be one road going in and out?
Brett, as far as the plan that we got right now, as far as there would be 5 lots here, and she's asking there be only one road going in and out. So you might, no, right now there is an access road here. That access road would be completed, I understand, as soon as the change order is assigned to do with some kind of pipe issue up here. And so that road is scheduled to come in probably within the next 30, 45 days, I guess.
That was actually my question.
Hi, I'm Mike Corman on Hazelton Drive. Are there any amenities planned for this new construction?
We asked a very important question there. What are the amenities for the town center? The town center, we consider the amenities are a lot about what you want there, which is the restaurants, the bars, the grills, the chiropractor's office, and things of that nature. We do not plan to build any type of pool facility there. We don't want to put that burden on the cost on these particular homeowners here. The buyers who will be buying the 3-story townhouses are the young millennial people who are coming into the neighborhood, who probably fixing to have a child or maybe have one child. And then they will, after their income increases, they will then move up to a single-family home. And so we do not plan to build any type of pool facility here, and they would not have access to the pool facility in the back.
Yeah, I'm Tim Landry, I live on 308 Americas Drive. The question is actually to Graham. If we say no to this whole deal, is this not our best alternative? What's our next best alternative? What happens then?
Since I was cut off, the bottom line is we're all for the commercial. Let's push that forward as fast as we can. Let's wait and see if that commercial can attract more commercial. If it does, we're in great shape. If it doesn't, that's the time to revisit this townhomes and condos. And it's premature to do the townhomes and condos now. So our best option is to put this first small bit of commercial. It's 25,000 square feet of commercial. Put it in there as fast as we can. See what goes in there. Yeah, I hope it's a restaurant. I hope it's a coffee shop. But it could be a mattress store. It could be something like that, right? There's different things. We don't know what it's going to be. Let's see what it is. Once we see, maybe we can get more good stuff. And if we can, we're in great shape. That's going to help everybody, including people outside of Tollgate Village. This is bigger than just Tollgate Village. This matters to everyone in the town. And I urge everyone I don't know what this straw poll question is going to be, but the way a poll question is phrased matters. If the poll question is phrased something like, do you support the commercial and the residential as presented by Regent Homes? That's a bogus question, because the commercial's already approved. It should be, the question should be, do you support changing the land development ordinance that we spent a lot of time and had a good consensus on, and it was a compromise solution. The neighborhood commercial in the front was consensus and a compromise. A lot of people wanted it just all commercial. All right, so I think I'm urging everyone, when that poll question comes out, answer it by saying, let's do the commercial now, wait and see what gets in there, then then revisit the residential. That's the real decision we have to make. Do we want to allow the residential to permanently and forever take away any opportunity of more commercial or not?
I would like to rebut that so you know. First thing is, everything's not approved commercial. There's 25 live works that have not been approved yet that would have to be approved that we were planning on building. We were hoping that Amber Strongberg would be here tonight to talk about the lawyers and different people who are interested in moving into the live works. The other thing is, if you go across America right now, retail's in trouble across America. You can go to any place you want to right now and find that retail stores are closing and are not doing well. We're not after big retail. We're after mom and pop retail. I ask you to please go out to West Haven. Check in with Brad Hauser. I don't think he's not Brad Wilson, I'm sorry, is here. According to my knowledge, West Haven just recently downzoned some of their commercial. And go out there and look how much commercial is there and count how many households there and look at the income there. Look at the townhouses that are built and the condos built there. The bottom line is what you really want out here is neighborhood retail that is supported by the residents of this community. You're not going to ever get another big grocery store. I'm surprised that Barry was able to get the Publix in there. Big grocery stores just aren't expanding right now. Target's not expanding right now. So who's going to go in there? You think about it. The medical center was there how many years? How many years has Shelter been there? How much space do they have available to lease right now? I know there's an insurance agent that would like to come out and decide. I can tell you Shelter's not going to lease to them. We would. And because we've already talked to them about it. But at the same time, I think that you got to look at it and saying you've got a lot of land there. If you want to sit vacant for years and you want to take and leave it like it is right now, that's your choice between you and the developer, and he's going to go back and forth from there. We're not part of any kind of a lawsuit. We're part of an idea to try to build out this community and give it a look. And again, go back and look at the original master plan that Carbine's put together. There was a lot of townhouses in this particular front section. How many? I couldn't give you a count, but they're all 3 stories. He gave me the rendering for it. I know we presented to the neighborhood in the past. So your opportunity is somebody like me comes around once and around. Who else built condominiums out there in Berry Farms? No one. Me.
I lived out there in Berry Farms, and I'm here to say I have an awful experience, and I tell mine. We had to move to Tollgate.
You're dead to speak.
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to
But the other thing is,
did anybody here?
No, you can say anything you want to say.
Do you remember me? I was one of the first people in and out at Berry Farms.
I don't remember
and
you,
I can tell you, we had trouble in the condos out there from the get-go. And my husband was diagnosed with a severe heart condition, and you had one handicap spot for the entire building and for the building across the street. I contacted them every way I could. Is Lisa Gregory, who's on the Franklin Planning Commission, still working for Boyle, who handles all that?
We don't handle Boyle at the Homeowners Association.
Well,
We built the
I'll tell you
buildings.
this. My husband was so sick doing that. I have terrible arthritis. The doctor would agree that I needed that. We had a trash receptacle that was 60 feet from the building and was so heavy, the doors, we shared it with Tito's and everything, that it made grooves in the payment. You go over there and see it if you want to. It's filthy. We complained to the city. We did everything we could. They would come out and look, and y'all refused to do anything. I talked to Franklin city government, and they said, well, you knew it was that way when you moved in. Well, I said, but my husband didn't have this heart condition. He can't run from the back of the parking lot if it's raining. And you know what? You all did nothing. No, wait. Nothing. And you are tied in with Boyle because you built the trash receptacle, which they ended up having to put rat containers in because it was so filthy, rodents were getting in there. There's a lady in my building who's 82, and she has rheumatoid arthritis and macular degeneration, and she can barely navigate that. And y'all still haven't, and on top of all that, my husband died.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, I know you are, but you know what? I'm telling you, I called City of Franklin. I see Peter down there. He knew all about what was going on. Y'all do not listen to these people. You can call and check my character with anybody you want to. The Tennessee Fair Housing is starting a lawsuit against them in my behalf for the people over there. HUD even said what they are doing is wrong. When I called the city of Franklin, the man who's over neighborhoods, who's also in cahoots with Lisa Gregory, who the lawyer for Tennessee Fair Housing said was a conflict of interest anyway. And she said, I called her and she said, well, I recused myself from the votes. Well, I'm sorry, that's not enough. And they are suing, HUD is suing the city of Franklin. I think they're naming Regent, they're naming Boyle. And I'm telling you, listen if you want to, but in my opinion, they're not to be trusted. And I want you to know that you're not going to keep your word. That's what I believe. I saw it. And so do what you want to. I ran over here to try to make it because you all need to know this.
Thank you for your comments. The bottom line is we built that building. There is a trash receptacle that's separate from the building that is designed to pick trash up for the whole area. There was a proposal to the homeowners association to do valet trash in that particular building. Why it didn't pass, but we have no votes in that association. It is ran by Boyle. I can tell you there's probably 50, 60 residents that we sell condos there. We log any complaint through our quality control department, and I can tell you that I know that she has some complaint about garbage and wanting to have a separate container out there. And I don't know about what they did about the traffic, but we know we have some complaints like that, but we couldn't handle that. That was between the association. And I can tell you, Boyle does run that with an iron fist, and they keep a very good job of running that neighborhood, keeping it up to date. Yeah.
Yep.
We didn't build any trash container.
David?
Yeah.
I'm Brad Wilson. I live on America's Drive, and I think this has been a great meeting, but I want to ask the BOMA members that are here and the Planning Commission members that are here. And I've been to every meeting except for one meeting that we had that I think Planning Commissioner BOMA had. I couldn't make it here that night, but I've been to the TAC meetings and I've been to the others. And I have to ask that question to the town. And Joe and I've kind of talked about this in the past. Is one thing we did here tonight was impact fees are very expensive here in Thompson Station, and they're in place for certain reasons. They help give us the things that we need to have. I do understand that. But I have to ask Alderman Shepherd, who is our representative from Tollgate, that Tollgate helped to vote in as an alderman, to ask the question is, if it's not Dave McGowan, who will it be? If it's not Regent Holmes, who will it be? And I understand this lady's comments here through dealing with Boyle, because I have to deal with Boyle a little bit in Franklin myself. But it's my comment, who's been out there, a person who's been out there for 12 years, if this doesn't happen, are you willing to step out there and try to work with an organization that wants to come in here and do what we've been looking at for now, it seems like the last 2 months, to physically go and meet with that team, because if it doesn't happen here, hopefully it comes up next year with somebody else. And I don't know who that could possibly be. I wouldn't want Boyle out here in Tollgate personally. But that's my thing to the board of the Planning Commission and to the town, is just a chance to make that comment, to look at the impact fees that we're doing and how we work with, physically work with these organizations that want to come here, instead of just saying sometimes no. Thank you.
Okay, on the impact fees, if you've been attending the Planning Commission meetings, I've been urging the Planning Commission to do something to help attract more commercial. If our impact fees are too high, I have been pushing them to lower them, so that will make more commercial come. So I am a proponent of whatever a fair impact fee. If we look at Franklin, we look at Spring Hill, if our impact fee is somewhere close to theirs, I would say lower it a little bit to make Thompson Station more attractive to commercial, especially mom and pop shops. In some cases, I might even advocate waiving the impact fee, because I know we'll make it up later on sales tax revenue. That's my position on impact fees. Okay. On the commercial that Regent has proposed, I'm for it. Everyone's for it. They're going to make money on that, the commercial that's already approved. There's no debate. There's nothing that can be done about it now. The only decision now is Regent Homes going to actually build it? I hope they do. He said he would, regardless of what happens with the residential. These are not linked things. So the commercial is good. Let's get that done. In terms of residential, who will come? Any residential builder will come. Phillips will come, because they can make a boatload of money on residential in the front of Tollgate. There's no problem at all getting townhomes built in the front of Tollgate. Any builder will build them if that's what we want. Personally, I'd like to wait and see what commercial happens with this first 25,000 square feet. And I urge you to, I'm almost begging you, I am begging you, please support that. That's the common sense position we should take. Let's build the commercial, 25,000 square feet, see what goes in there. Then, after that, let's revisit the whole land development. We took a lot of time and work and effort on that land development ordinance. We had charrettes involving the whole town, not just Tollgate. And we came to the consensus opinion, Tollgate, the front should be neighborhood commercial with mixed-use buildings. Dave McGowan said, oh, mixed-use buildings aren't allowed. They're allowed. They are permitted. That's in compliance with the code. There's no problem with that. So anyway, does that answer the question?
I have a question. I have only been to one other of these meetings in December. I don't follow this issue closely. I hate meetings like this. I'm a very impatient person. And I'm not intimately familiar with the issues. So I'll tell you that on the front end. But what I'm hearing tonight, it seems there's two factions. One that's each bent on residential and commercial, and Graham taking a position of start with the commercial, which is what everybody seems to want, and then see what happens. And I told you, you won't meet anyone more impatient than me, but I don't really see what's wrong with that. So my question is, and it is a question because I don't know the answer. For the faction, if I'm right, that there are two prevailing attitudes here, for the group that is hell-bent on the residential with the commercial, why? Why are they joined at the hip in the view of those that want them both together? It's just a question.
Chuck, good question. My name is Brandon Bell. I'm your other alderman that lives in Thompson Station in Tollgate Village. I think you guys have probably seen on Nextdoor a lot of the dialogue between Alderman Shepherd and I. Nobody's on next door. Yeah, my wife Layla dropped off next door because she was tired of a lot of this stuff. So I'm an architect by trade. I work for Gresham Smith Partners downtown. I do actually design residential mixed-use stuff like this, but I don't do town center stuff. I do 34-story high-rise stuff downtown. I'm working downtown on some stuff. I wanted to share with you all kind of my background and why I'm getting behind this. And I've worked on this for about, I think, probably, Dave, about 2.5 years. I approached Dave at a Urban Land Institute conference or a meeting up in Nashville. And I said, hey, Dave, I knew you had looked around Tollgate before, and I'd really appreciate it, if you took another look at us, because there's nothing happening. I said, I'm an alderman, I'm an architect, I'm clued in with the neighborhood, I know what they're looking for, and it's all about mixed use, it's all about walkability. So about maybe 9 months later, Dave called me and said, hey, I've got a letter of intent, we're talking to MBSC. MBSC is the overall master developer who's out of New York City. MBSC is a hedge fund. They're not a developer. They don't develop properties. Something that's very interesting, and I think I've told a few people about this, but not everybody. When I moved here from Memphis to Nashville, I worked for a company called Southern Land Company. I was one of 4 in-house architects that helped design their facilities. Southern Land is known for West Haven. They did West Haven. They did that whole thing, which is a huge success. MBSC actually came to Southern Land and said, hey, will you take over Tollgate? And Southern Land brought their people out here, looked through Tollgate, and chose not to pursue it because of the complex issues that we're talking about today. It is a unique zoning that was approved by the Williamson County before Thompson Station had their own planning commission. So we did take the steps, as Alderman Shepherd said, during our LDO adoption to create a specific zone called neighborhood commercial right in front of Tollgate. It only happens there. It doesn't happen anywhere else because it's such a unique animal. And that was our decision to make this. This was my decision to get behind that, was to kind of put the brakes on because things were happening in Tollgate such as apartments, lack of quality green space that I said, we're not following the plan. It's time to put the brakes on until we could find the right person to partner with. So I was really upset. I was hurt when Alderman Shepherd said that I was trying to pad my friends, my colleagues' pockets. I was out there on the street trying to find the right developer that we want to partner with. And I'm sorry about this lady's experience with Regent Homes. I've heard equal things with a lot of the other builders that are in our neighborhood. It's a very challenging thing getting a perfect experience with builders. But Regent Homes, as Dave said, has built all the condos and a lot of the dense walkable stuff. They know this stuff. They've done it in Lenox Village, and Berry Farms, and in West Haven. So I'm familiar with their abilities. So back to Chuck's question. So why don't we just let the commercial go first, see what happens, and wait to see what happens later? Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'm sorry if there's any representative for MBSC here, but these guys, they're going to sell to the first person that comes along. If Dave, when I approached Dave and MBSC called me, we had our first conference call, I said, the only way that I'm going to get behind this is if Regent Homes does everything, commercial and any additional residential if it's required. At first, Dave was only doing the commercial, and I said, no, we're not going to have some other guys flying from out of town that do, quasi-quality homes. And you want to talk about property values plummeting? It is bad details, poorly designed commercial and residential. Dave's group, I know the architecture firms they work for or that work for them. They do amazing stuff. So what will happen is if Dave walks or he may walk from everything, but if he walks from the residential, I'm worried about the next guy that's coming in. And there is nobody. Southern Land said no. There's been nobody on the streets. None of our other board that I'm aware of has been out there trying to find somebody to come that we know that this is their backyard and quality is important. Their brand identity is important. They're not going to allow a pawn shop. They're not going to allow a lousy vinyl siding condo. They're not going to do that. They have an investment as well. So, Chuck, that's a long answer. I'm sorry to your question.
I like to answer his question too. I like to comment on his question. If I could, I'd like to comment on his question. What we're really asking to do is to get the city to approve a new modified land development ordinance. We're not coming in today with a plan with all the units. That would be a cap. We are market-driven people. So the bottom line, if we could do more commercial and there's more commercial demand, I can assure you we did it. At one time in Lenox, we had 150,000 square feet of commercial space that we end up selling to other people or the actual operators of the space, everything from chiropractor's office to dentist's office and things of that nature. So what you have normally in these town centers, whether it's West Haven or Barry, you have a form-based code that allows you to do multiple things in that area in the neighborhood center. So what we really want to be able to do is get that document modified and start coming up to Main Street and start developing it. We will bring buildings in as we come forward. Let's say all of a sudden we got a big office user that would like to come into this facility. I can assure you we would sit down and work with them, and if it meets the guidelines of the codes for as height, setback, and stuff like that, we would probably work with that individual, just like we did at Lenox Village. They just built a 20,000 square foot St. Thomas Medical Center at Lenox Village that was agreed to in the form-based code. So what we're really trying to do is get the city to adopt a code that allows us to do townhouses, condominiums, live-work units, as well as all the other commercial in there. And so that the neighborhood can start moving forward. That's what we really want to have happen. We will agree to enter in a contract with the developer who owns the land and start moving the neighborhood forward. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to take and get currently this. We said we would put a cap on it, that we wouldn't go above that number, but at the same time, nothing prevents us from going below that number if we wanted to.
So if you just if this group voted that they just wanted to do commercial, and I'm not doubting your credibility. Brandon says you're good. I'm sure you're good. That's good enough. But would you, if they said, no, we just want the commercial now?
Well, first thing, how much money have we invested to this point? We've invested about $30,000 with architects and designers to get to this point right here. We've already got signs up. We're already entering leasing. You see the people here right now. So we're moving forward with that. But the bottom line is the rest of the property should be developed. We have an interest to do that. We make money by developing and building property. So that's what we want to have happen. We would like to get that LDO in place so that we can move forward going up to Main Street with live work units and all the other stuff. And so our goal is to try to get this resolved, get all the legal mess behind us, and let us get in there and start developing property like we do in any other neighborhood. So somewhere along the line, the people who own that land, they've got to get their issues resolved and get it to where we can buy the land. And that's what we're doing. We're saying we'll buy the rest of the land if we can get that resolved. The commercial is underneath a separate contract. I have until 2019 in which to close that property and develop it. We asked for that because we knew it would take a while to get everything leased up. But we've already met with banks. We've already got tenants. So hopefully we'll move forward. We would like to get a restaurant in there before we actually start the building.
Oh, I was just going to, my name's...
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
All right. I'm really excited about you all being here. I'm learning. But one thing gets me is the lifestyle and impact of all of the cars and traffic that we're going to have. No one has told me that it would take, I think I was the fourth in line to get out of Tollgate to make a left turn, and I didn't make it. Fourth, I was the fourth car. I don't know who adjusts the lights, but I'm just wondering the impact of all the traffic. I hear enough trucks at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning coming through, and every time you talk to somebody about that, you're to get a hold of this person or that person. I don't understand. I'm for safety and the impact of all the automobiles that we're talking about. They can tell you how many town homes are going up or townhouses and homes, but no one's told me how many cars that's going to bring in. I just wish to remind you of that. Thank you.
I'm John Peterson. I live on Colebrook Drive. I was just going to actually thank Brandon for his support of the project. I sort of second a lot of what he just said a couple minutes ago. We've lived in Tollgate for about 6 years, and for the length of time that my wife and daughters and I have lived there, the conversation about the front has been, yes, we'd all like retail. Yes, we'd all like some walkable mom and pop shops. There's rarely been conversation about what the percentages of those should be. And the conversation always ends with, well, I'd really like it to look like West Haven or Berry Farms. And we have the developer right here who is the developer of West Haven and Berry Farms. And I understand why there would be some conversation about start with the commercial, but I think we've got a developer that has come forward with a very solid plan that incorporates all of it. And I think it would be a mistake for us to spend too much time and not move forward with it. I really like the plan that he's put together because I think it affords an awful lot of flexibility. We've talked about what the market can bear over the next couple of years. One thing is for absolute, none of us knows what's going to happen to the economy tomorrow. And the plan that Dave has put together affords us the opportunity to have live work that can be commercial on the first floor, can be townhome if the market won't bear retail. It can be mixed use, so it could be all a great portion of commercial or office space. It affords us the best of both worlds, the flexibility to adapt to the marketplace, because the last thing that I would want to see is something that's unattractive or a bunch of retail space that can't get occupied. I've said for a long time what I would like to see at the front is something that's aesthetically pleasing and economically sustainable. He's shown us the models over here. You drive by West Haven, you drive by Berry Farms. They're beautiful. For me individually, I don't have a question. I'm just going to say, Dave, I really appreciate the plan you've put together. I will tell you that I think you've been staggeringly patient with some of our elected officials and some of the comments that have been made tonight. And I think you've been a great partner and willing to sit down with us on many occasions, listen to the hopes and concerns and dreams of the residents of Tollgate. And I really appreciate the effort that you and your team have put together. So as an individual, I'm firmly in support of moving forward with your project, and thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Raise your hand. It's getting late. Okay, sure. That's right.
My name is Angie Smith, and I live on Rochelle. I have been in Tollgate for about 10 years. My question is, if you do build townhomes, condos, the facade, will we have any input as far as the facade, what they look like? Will there be a vote? Will you be the sole determining factor as far as what the facade looks like? Because the apartments that are out there are kind of, I don't know what happened there. It's like two different sets and two different looks, and they don't have a lot of continuity, in my opinion. So I'm just wondering, will we have any input, or are we trusting you in that if you are the developer?
Basically, everything we do has to go back to the planning commission. So right now, we're not submitting a plan to you, but we do have plans that have been approved already for the commercial mixed-use building. And so every time we come in, we have to get that plan approved. All the colors has to be approved by the design review committee, Wendy in her office and all that. So yes, you would be able to sit in there and see, in the planning commission, every time we submit a phase and a group of buildings that we would come in there, you would be able to see that. Again, we want it to look more like something that was built before World War II, something that has more of a downtown Franklin urban feel. In the first building we built in there, we went two-story look in order to balance between the medical center and the insurance, shelter insurance over there. And so, yes, there will be input from whether it's the planning commission or the neighborhood when we go through with those buildings. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Oh, man, all the way on the other side of the room. Exercise.
I'm Ben Dilks. I'm one of the other aldermen. I live over in Canterbury. Just a couple of quick comments I had. First, I want to clarify the comment that Mr. McGowan made about the condos, that Fannie, Freddie, FHA would limit the rental percentage of those buildings to 25%. That's incorrect. 65% is the percentage. Sorry, 65% is the FHA percentage. Look it up. Google it. It's not hard to find, and I can't believe Mr. McGowan didn't Google it after I asked him at our last meeting. So that's one clarification that is absolutely incorrect. Secondly, the comment about townhomes versus a office builder coming in and offering to buy that land. Let me tell you the reason they're not going to do that. At 12 units per acre, they can put $3.6 million worth of real estate. So 12 townhomes or other units at $300,000 apiece. That's $3.6 million. Compare that to the shelter insurance building. That was on 3.2 acres and was $5 million. That's about $1.5 million per acre. So the answer is you can put $3.6 million worth of real estate if you do townhomes versus $1.5 million per acre of real estate if you do those office buildings. That's the reason he's not going to do it. It's not about needing rooftops or anything like that. That's the real reason. It's money. It boils down to money. And the third I want to make sure people are aware of, Regent Homes is one of 8 builders in Williamson County that are suing Williamson County schools over the new impact fees. They don't believe they should be paying these impact fees. Just thought the public should be aware of that if we make these concessions to Regent Homes, we're making concessions to one of the 8 builders, the only active one in Thompson Station, that does not believe that new construction should fund our schools.
Thank you. I'd like to comment. I can tell you Ben doesn't know anything about real estate. He don't know where to start. First thing, when you go to build a condo building, you have to have a sponsor. A sponsor takes you to the Fannie Mae FHA, and I can tell you it is a 25% currently. You go ask my sponsor, First Bank. They sponsor my building, and also Bank Corp South. You can Google anything you want to and find things on the Google, but I can tell you my sponsor says we're limited to 25%. If we go one over 25%, we lose our certification. So we go through Fannie Mae guidelines, and that's what we do for. And so he doesn't know what he's talking about. He is right. We have challenged through the Home Builders Association impact fee. Why? Because you imagine we go out and we develop neighborhoods. We get those, it takes years in advance to get these neighborhoods approved. So we do performers and guidelines. Although I think he is a bean counter, he doesn't undercount our bean counting. So basically, you imagine I get a neighborhood approved, and all of a sudden the city decides I should pay $15,000 more in impact fees for a house, for education fund. It's not right. You imagine how many teachers, how many policemen, how many firemen who want to live in Williamson County now can't afford to live there because of a $15,000 impact fee. We think a property tax is more fair. We do pay all the fees that we have to pay, but we really believe that we have what they call vesting rights. Once we get a neighborhood approved, we have the right to continue to develop that neighborhood underneath the guidelines that were set in place. But we are in that suit. And I can tell you the county has already offered some type of a settlement that if we would honor it after the neighborhoods are approved, they might go forward. And that is something for the lawyers to determine. But we have done that. And we're not ashamed of that whatsoever, because it does affect affordability of homes.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else got a question? I'll make sure every question is answered.
This will be short. I just want you to know for comparison purposes that the developer of 2 farms, which we just approved unanimously, consensus, 5-0, that developer is not challenging the impact fees for Williamson County schools. He's more than happy to pay them. More than that, the 2 farms developer is setting aside land which he's going to actually give to Williamson County for a public safety building, which could be a fire or police. And what's the other? And he's going to give land for a new school. That's the 2 farms developer. Compare that with Mr. McGowan, who is suing Williamson County because he wants your property taxes to go up. That's what he wants.
Yeah, again,
and
Again, Graham, you know what you're talking about. Two farms doesn't pay fees. The builder pays the fees. They're not home builders. They're land developers.
All right.
The builder pays the fees,
Thanks,
so he
Graham.
wouldn't sue them anyway.
And one last comment, quick one. The Two Farms developer has guaranteed a minimum of 70,000 square feet retail. Now, I'm not talking about the golf course, the golf shop, restaurant. I'm talking about 70,000 square foot retail out in that rural area. We can't even, the most we'll ever get if we approve this plan is 50,000 in Tollgate at a prime commercial site.
All right, anybody else got a question? One more question.
Oh, sorry. My name's Jonathan Blevins. I live on America's Drive. I just have a quick comment. I've only lived in Tollgate about a year and a half, and one of our primary concerns when we moved in was the way, like, the front of the neighborhood looked, but then also there was the crystal clear stuff, which I'd researched and whatever. But the one thing that I appreciate about this plan, and I'm not an expert on mixes and things like that as far as retail and all that stuff, but is that with one developer developing, it is cohesive. I'll echo his comments earlier. And if I'm assuming, like, if retail is allowed to come in and then we wait, then what does that look like 5 years later when a different builder, different developer builds in the front? It is aesthetics, but it is important for home value, for what people see when they drive. I mean, it's the first place you go into when you drive up into the neighborhood. You have to drive through the front to get to the back where, most of us live. So, but yeah, that's my only comment.
I just have a quick question. Are you already selling condos out here? Do you have anyone over here representing you selling the condos already?
We can't sell anything we can't get a permit for, but we're not building any condos.
Okay. Got one last comment.
I'm not very good at public speaking, so this is hard for me. But I will say this: if the majority of the votes, will the Board of Mayor and Aldermen listen to these votes? And when it comes time to take your vote, will you vote like the people that elected you ask you to vote? That's my question.
So I think that is a good question to ask. This is our third meeting trying to explain what this means to the residents of Tollgate. And the other two was overwhelming. I don't know what tonight is. We'll have to see what the votes are. But my question, as Mona said, is that I hope we don't have to do this again. And so I would ask from the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, if there's any reservation that you have whatsoever, other than what's been expressed by Alderman Shepherd and Alderman Dilks, please speak up. Or if not, we're going to assume that you will vote with the majority of the people. Okay? Somebody got any comment? Graham, you've already made your comments, okay? Yeah. All right. And Ben, you have, okay. All right. So let's, again, we really appreciate your turnout tonight. I apologize. I know the weather's rough. We appreciate everybody coming out. We ask that you make sure you turn your ballot in when you leave. We will tally them. We'll put the results on the Tollgate Action Committee website, which is TAGTN.com. And we'll put the results out there, and we'll also have this meeting video, and we'll put that on the website as soon as it's available. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.